Okay,
Yes,
shall I start?
why not?
Okay, thank you. ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. In the 249th verse in the last session, we saw that Bhagwan Shankaracharya talked about the Mahavakya Vichara. Now, what is Mahavakya Vichara? Here, I, the Tvam Padartha, which is nothing but this consciousness Atma, is found to be not different from Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of the entire universe. The Atma Brahma Aikyam is taught by the teacher, by the Acharya, to the Shishya in the form of a Mahavakya. A Mahavakya is nothing but an equation. And the Mahavakya is talked about in a way that is called as Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means that Brahman or that Ishvara, Tvam, you are. And we also saw in the last session what are the various Lakshanas that are used. I described in detail about Jahati Lakshana, Ajahati Lakshana, Bhagatyaga Lakshana, and also how Bhagwan Shankaracharya tells us that this Mahavakya Vichara has to be deduced by using the Lakshana called as the Bhagatyaga Lakshana. We saw till there. And then we also saw the 251st verse, I think, last time, very briefly, and the 252nd verse also we saw very briefly, where the Acharya, that is Shankaracharya, is telling us the same words of the Upanishads, telling us that you are nothing but that Brahman. Tattvamasi prashantamamalam. That is what we saw in the last session. But I want to repeat those two verses, the 251st verse and the 252nd verse. I want to repeat because here, whatever is the summary of the sixth chapter of Chandogya Upanishad, called as the Tat Tvam Asi Prakarana. This particular message of the sixth chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad is given here by Shankaracharya, and here the teacher is telling the Shishya that, Hey Shishya, Tat Tvam Asi. This is the teaching of the Upanishad. The Acharya says, I am not trying to tell you something which I just want to say. It is the very teaching of the Upanishads, the very teaching of the Shastra, which says that you, the Atma, that is you completely anatma negated. See, I told you also, of course, Mahavakya Vichara is a little difficult to understand. That's why I'm taking these two verses, repeating these verses again in this particular session, because ultimately, what is Mahavakya? Mahavakya means my real nature as to who I am really is equated to the reality of the whole universe. What is the reality of the universe? Brahman or Ishvara is the reality of this whole universe. And that reality of this whole universe is nothing other than you, which is nothing but the Atma. When I say I can include the Anatma body mind sense complex also. That's what I normally see. Because I'm asleep with avidya, I'm asleep with ignorance, and there is always a confusion. This avarana shakti of Maya has covered my intellect to the reality of who I am, and it is projecting something which I am not. Therefore, I am right now under the mistaken notion that I am the body, mind, sense complex anatma. I am not aware that I am that consciousness Atma, which is the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, which is the witness consciousness of this entire body, mind, sense complex. I am not aware of that. And by this Mahavakya Vichara, what the scriptures are trying to tell me is you are not the body, mind, sense complex Anatma, but you are that consciousness, that witness consciousness, which is called as the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, the Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. In the words of Lord Shankaracharya, Bhagwan Shankaracharya, he says, you are that Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. And this Atma, who is this Atma? You are this Tvam Padartha. The Swarupam of you is this Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. And what is that Atma? That Atma is nothing but Brahman, which is the consciousness, which is nothing but the very substance or the stuff with which this entire universe is made. So, Tat Tvam Asi is an equation which says Tat Brahma Tvam Atma Asi. That Brahman you are. I know I am, but I don't know I am that Brahman. What the scriptures tell me is you know you are, but you do not know what you are. You have mistaken yourself to be something which you are not. And therefore, the scriptures tell me that you are not what you think you are, but you are that Brahman. And that Brahman, Tat Padartha, Tat, that Brahman is nothing but you. Now, that was very clearly talked about in the Chandogya Upanishad in the sixth chapter, which is called as the Tattvamasi Prakarana, in which Uddhalaka, the Guru, tells his Shishya and son Shvetaketu, Tat Tvam Asi Shvetaketu. Hey Shvetaketu, you are not this body, mind, sense complex. You are this Atma, which is nothing other than that Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of this entire universe. Then what is this universe? Then what is this name and form universe that I am seeing? What is this Anatma, body, mind, sense complex that I am all the time aware of? What is this? What is this Anatma? That is what is going to be told in these two verses, and the equation is again reiterated in the form of Tattvamasi. This teaching is told in the 251st verse and 252nd verse. We will see those two verses again. Though I have dealt with them in the last session, I have dealt with them in a brief manner. Therefore, let me deal with these two verses in a detailed manner, because it is very essential for us to understand what is the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi. So, in the 251st verse, he says that Mritkarya Sakalam Ghatadi Satatam Mrinmatramevabhitaha Tadvat Sajjanitam Sadatmakamidam Sanmatramevakhilam Yasmannasti Satah Param Kimapi Tat Satyam Sa Atma Swayam तस्मात् तत्त्वमसि प्रशान्तममलं ब्रह्माद्वयं यत्परम्. See the last line. The Guru is saying, Tasmat, therefore, Tat Tvam Asi. That Brahman, which is the Jagat Karanam Brahman, that Tat, that Brahman, you are. And who are you? Who is this Atma, that Brahman that you are? Prashantam Amalam Brahma Advayam Yat Param. Param, you are that infinite Atma. You are that infinite Purnatva Swarupa, Ananta Swarupa Atma, Yat Param Brahma. You are that Brahman, Advayam, one without a second. There is no other Brahman or Atma. This Atma and that Brahman are not two different consciousnesses. It is one same consciousness from the point of the individual body mind sense complex. I call it as the Atma, and from the point of the entire Jagat, I call it as Brahman or Ishvara. Therefore, he says, Tasmat, therefore, Tat Brahma Tvam Asi. That Brahman you are, and what kind of you that Brahman is, or what kind of Brahman that you are. Prashantam Amalam. Prashantam means that without any modifications. That Brahman without any modifications, without any changes. Prashantam, which is Shanta, which does not have any changes going on it. Nirvikari Atma you are. Amalam, you are the purest, not tainted by the Anatma. Though you are in and through this Anatma, you, the Atma, are in and through this Anatma, body, mind, sense complex. This Brahman is in and through this Anatma, names and forms Jagat. But still, you, the Atma, or that Brahman, that consciousness is not tainted by the Anatma at all. Therefore, Amalam, Malarahita Atma you are, Prashantam, without any kind of modifications, without any kind of changes. You are that Advaya Brahman, that Advaya Brahma, that secondless Brahma. You are that Brahman, Yat Param, that which is of the nature of infinity, that infinite Brahman you are. And what is that Brahman? That Brahman is being described in the first three lines. What is that Tat Padartha? He says, Mrit Karyam Sakalam Ghatadi Satatam Mrinmatramevabhitaha, the first line. This is what is explained in the Chandogya Upanishad Tattvamasi Prakarana, where the teacher Uddhalaka, the Guru Uddhalaka, takes 9 examples to make Shvetaketu understand that the whole universe is a manifestation of Brahman, and that Brahman you are. So now what does he say? Just like all the clay products are made up of clay. Clay is the Karanam and the clay products are the Karyam. Let us take the example of gold and ornaments. Ornaments are the Karyam, the effects, and gold is the Karanam or the cause for these ornaments. So, if you take the ornaments or if you take the entire clay, pots and plates and cups and whatever it is, ultimately they are made up of what? They are made up of clay. Brit karyam sakalam ghatadi satatam rinvatra vemabhitaha. Whichever part of the pot you touch, you are touching the clay only. You hold a pot in your hand, you are holding the clay in your hand. You are holding the bottom of the pot on your hand, you are touching the clay. You are touching the top of the pot, you are touching the clay. Whichever clay product you are taking in hand, you are touching the clay only. Similarly, gold also, if you take, whichever ornament you are holding in your hand, you are holding the gold. You may touch the chain from the top portion or the bottom portion or in the middle portion, you are touching the gold itself. Similarly, what he says in the second line is Tadvat Sajjanitam Sadatmakamidam Sanmatramevakhilam. This entire universe is nothing but the Karyam of Brahman. Brahman is the Karanam. Brahman manifests itself as this entire universe as the Karya Prapancha. Then he says in the third line, Yasmat Nasti Sataha Param Kimapi. Just like There is nothing other than the clay in the thousands of products of clay, just like there is nothing other than gold in thousands of products of gold called ornaments. Similarly, this entire world is nothing but Brahman. Because this whole world is nothing but the manifestation of Brahman. So the third line says, Yasmat nasti sataha param kimapi, because other than this Sat Brahman, Sat means Brahman, Sat Brahman, Chit Brahman, Ananda Brahman, Satyam Brahma, Jnanam Brahma, Anantam Brahma. This Sat means Brahman. He says, Yasmat Nasti Sataha Param. Other than this Sat Brahma, there is nothing else in this universe. All that you see in the universe are mere names and forms. What is the stuff of the universe? Nothing but this Brahman. Just like in the entire ornament world, you find that all the ornaments are nothing but the names and forms, but the stuff behind every ornament and all the ornaments is nothing but the gold. Similarly, yasmat nasti satah param kimapi. Satah param kimapi nasti. Other than this Sat Brahma, there is nothing else in this world. Other than this Sat Atma, there is no body, mind, sense complex. This entire body, mind, sense complex is Atma Rupi, manifestation of Atma. Similarly, this entire Jagat, whatever we are seeing in this entire Jagat, all the names and forms, all the objects that we are seeing in this Jagat are nothing other than the Sat. Yasmat nasti satah param kimapi tat satyam sa atma swayam. That satyam, that Brahman is nothing but you, that Atma swayam. You, nothing but you, the Atma. Now, when I understand this, how do I understand this? It is nothing but I, the Atma. When the teacher is saying Tat Tvam, when the teacher is saying Tvam, I have to understand it as Aham. So, Swayam Atma Brahma Asmi. That is why the reply that the student gives to this teaching is, yes, now I understand that Aham Brahmasmi. When the teacher says Tat Brahma Tvam Asi, then the understanding of the student is, yes, Aham Brahma Asmi. So, Tat Satyam Sa Atma Swayam. That Atma Swayam, you are that Swayam Atma, nothing but that Atma. Tasmat, therefore, you are that Atma Brahman. You, that Atma, is nothing but this Brahman, which is Prashantam, Amalam, Advayam, and Param. Prashantam means that which is changeless, modificationless, no modifications there. Amalam, absolutely pure and not tainted by any of the anatma. You are that Brahman, that Advaya Brahman, secondless Brahman, one and the only Brahman, and that Brahman which is Yat Param, that which is Param, or that which is the ultimate, or that which is the infinite Purnatva Swarupa Brahman. Then in the 252nd verse also, the same Tattvamasi teaching was reiterated again in the form of showing that you are the only reality. Atma Brahman is the only reality. The body mind sense complex and the entire Jagat that we see is nothing but a mere appearance and mithya. So, in addition to Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithyatvam also is brought about in this verse. That is why our scriptures, if somebody asks you, what is the summary of the teaching of Vedanta? You can say it in one sentence or one verse. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Brahman, Atma is the only Satyam. Entire Jagat with its names and forms is Mithya. Jiva is not separate or different from Brahman. This in one verse we can summarize the entire teaching of the Upanishads, or our entire scriptural teaching is that. So that is summarized here in the 252nd verse, which also we saw very briefly last time, but I am taking time to explain it more in detail because these are all very important verses. We are not bothered about how much time we take. We have, of course, we have another just about 25 verses to complete, maybe another 4 or 5 sessions to complete, but that is not important. What is important is that whatever are the important of these 108 verses of Vivek Chudamani, we understand them properly. So now we'll go to the 252nd verse, which I have introduced in the last session. We will just see that again. Nidra kalpita desha kala vishaya ज्ञात्रादि सर्वं यथा मिथ्या तत्त्वदिहापि जागृति जगत् स्वाज्ञानकार्यत्वतः यस्मादेवमिदं शरीरकरण प्राणाहमाद्यप्यसत् तस्मात् तत्त्वमसि प्रशान्तममलं ब्रह्माद्वयं यत्परम्. The last line is the same. Therefore, He Shishya, Tat Tvamasi, Tasmat Tatvamasi, that Brahman you are. Who are you? Tat Advayam Brahma Prashantam Amalam Param Tvam Asi. That infinite, secondless, one without a second, Brahma Prashantam Amalam Brahma you are. That is what here the last line is repeating the Tattvamasi teaching of the 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad. And now he says that you are that only Satyam. Then what is this Jagat? This Jagat is as false as a dream. He gives a dream example. This is the teaching used in Mandukya Upanishad also by Bhagwan Gaudapada. In his Karika on Mandukya Upanishad, Bhagwan Gaudapada, in an entire chapter called as Vaitathya Prakarana, tries to prove that this entire Jagat is mithya by taking the example of a dream. The dream is an experiential reality. When we dream, the dream is real. But when we wake up from the dream, we understand that the dream is not real at all. It was false and it just disappears when I wake up. So, what our scriptures say is the Jagrat Prapancha is a bigger dream. If the swapna is my individual dream, then my Jagrat Avastha or my Jagrat Prapancha or what I see in my waking state is a bigger dream. It is a waking dream. There is no difference between your individual dream and this kind of a general dream. The only difference is this outside dream, the Jagrat dream or this Prapancha, most of us are dreaming together. It is a common dream of the Ishvara Srishti, which most of us are dreaming together. But actually speaking, there is no difference because it is a bigger dream. This is an individual dream. That is a public dream. This is a private dream. There is no difference between the Jagrat Prapancha and my dream because ultimately both are mithya. They are experiential realities. I told you last session what is mithya. Mithya means what? That which is experienced, that which is very much there for experience. But in reality, it is not there. It is absolutely not there in reality. It is not the absolute reality. It is only a relative reality. So, what is it? It is nothing but a dream. That is what is seen here. What he says is Nidra Kalpita Desha Kala Vishaya Jnatradi Sarvam Yatha Mithya, he says here. In Nidra, when I fall asleep and when I project a dream, what do I project? I project a dream circumstance, a dream space, a dream time, a dreamer, and all the objects in the dream, and I experience and go through the experience of a dream. So Nidra Kalpita Desha. So I create a dream place. Nidra Kalpita Kala. There is a time also in the dream. It is not the waker's time, but it is a dream time which is separate from the waker's time. Vishaya. In the dream also I have got all the objects of the world which are there. All those objects are there. Nyatradi. There is a dreamer also. I am the same person who is in the dream as a dreamer. I am myself. As a Jagrit also I am. And when my body is fast asleep and I am dreaming, I become the dream person. I project myself into the dream also. Sarvam yatha mithya. He says in the first line. Nidra kalpita desha kala vishaya jnatradi sarvam yatha mithya. Just like all that is projected in the dream, including the dream time, dream space, the dreamer, myself itself, and all the objects of the dream, just like they are mithya. Mithya means what? They are experienced at the time of the dream. But when I wake up, the dream has disappeared. It was there at the time of the dream. It is not there when I wake up. Similarly, he says, तद्वद् इह अपि जागृति जगत् स्व अज्ञान कार्यत्वतः. So just like when I sleep, there is an avidya of sleep because of which the dream is projected. Similarly, in the Jagrat Avastha also, my ignorance of the nature of myself and the world, I project a false world. And this world I consider to be the absolute truth. What he says is, this Jagat is not the absolute truth at all. This is not the absolute truth. So, Jagat Swa Ajnana Karyatvatah. This whole Jagat that is projected by me is Swa Jagat Swa Ajnana Karya. Swa Ajnana. That means what? It means that I am not aware of my reality. There is Swa Ajnana. I know I am, but who am I? I don't know. I know there is a world. What kind of a world is it? Is it real or not? I don't know. Is this body mind sense complex real or an experiential reality? I don't know. Therefore, what he says is ultimately Swa Ajnana Karyatvatah. This is a Swa Ajnana Karya. What is a Swa Ajnana Karya? I do not know I am. Therefore, what is happening here? Because of this, I project like a dream world, I am projecting a world outside me also. Therefore, here he says, Jagrati Jagat api. Tadvad iha api Jagrati Jagat. Here also the Jagrat Prapancha also is nothing but Swa Ajnana Karyatvatah. It is because of Swa Ajnana, because of really not knowing my reality, Swa Ajnanataya, this whole world is appearing as a reality. It is really not a reality. It is only an experiential reality. It is not an absolute reality. Yasmadevamidam sharira karana prana aham adi api asat. Just like this whole world is like a dream, which is a projected dream, a waking dream. Similarly, tasmad evam idam shariram. This sharira, karana, my sense organs, prana, my prana, aham, my ahankara. So the body, mind, the prana, the sense complex, the ahankara. That means what? The annamaya kosha, the pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, anandamaya kosha. All of them are mithya. What is Satyam? Me, the Atma, only is Satyam. The body is there. It is necessary. It is an experiential reality. It is necessary for the transactions, agreed, but it is not the reality. Just like the world is projected, just like a dream. As I project a dream in my avidya during sleep, Because of Swa Ajnana, all of us, each one of us is projecting this dream Jagat outside. The dream Jagat, you may ask, how can it be? I am seeing the same Jagat as you are seeing. It is Ishvara Srishti. Yes, it is Ishvara Srishti. What the Upanishad says, it is not that the Jagat is not there. The names and form Jagat is there, but it is a mere experiential reality. It is not the absolute reality. It is Mithya. It is not Satyam. What here he wants to say is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahma Eva Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mithya means what? It is there. It is experience, but it is not the absolute. Sorry, it is not the absolute reality. Therefore, he says, Yasmadevamidam Sharira Karana Prana Aham Adi Api Asat. Asat means mithya. Just like, the dream is asat or mithya, this entire world, including my body, mind, sense complex, is also a mere experiential reality. It is asat, it is mithya, it is not the satyam. Then who are you? Tasmat, therefore, tattvamasi prashantam amalam. You are that Brahman which is modification less, Prashantam, Amalam, pure, not tainted by the Anatma, Advayam, that with one without a second, and Param, you are that Brahman. This is the knowledge of the Mahavakya Vichara. With this, we have completed the Tattvamasi teaching or Mahavakya Vichara. Now, the Upanishad goes on to who is actually a Jivan Mukta. The person who has this knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, is called as a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means what? Jivan Yeva Muktaha. As he is alive, as I am alive, I understand this teaching of the Shastra and I am completely free from samsara. Our scriptures tell us you don't have to die to be free from samsara. Being here, facing the same world, being in the same world, seeing the same people, playing your same role, doing whatever you're doing, responding and transacting the same way that you're transacting, you can still be unaffected by the world. And such a person who's insulated from the afflictions of the world, such a person is called as Jivan Muktaha. And this Jivan Mukti is a result of this knowledge. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna in the second chapter, he called him what? Sthita Prajnaha, Sthira Prajnaha, for whom this knowledge is very, very, very clear. A person who is abiding in this knowledge, Aham Satyam, Aham Atma Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Jagan Mithya, Sarvam Jagat Mithya, iti. In this knowledge, the person who is abiding, such a person is called as Sthita Prajna. And nearly 5 or 6 verses starting from Prajahati Yada Kaman, from there onwards for about 5 to 6 verses, Bhagavad Gita talked about what? It talked about the lakshanas of the person who is a Jivan Mukta. Sthita Prajna Lakshanas were talked about. Here also now, in Vivekachudamani also, Bhagwan Shankaracharya talks about the Lakshanas of a Sthita Prajna, of a Jnani. A Sthita Prajna is also called as a Sthira Prajna, a Jnani, Parabhakta. Okay, he is also called as a Buddha. So all these names are given to this Sthita Prajna. And the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas are talked about for the next 8 or 9 verses as to how a Sthita Prajna conducts himself. How a Sthita Prajna lives in this world. He does not run away from the world. The world does not change for a Sthita Prajna. It is the same world of names and forms which is existing for the Sthita Prajna also. The Sthita Prajna also continues to exist in the same world. But then, how does he respond to this world? Does the world affect him like it affects us? This is what is going to be talked about as the phalam of this knowledge. The knowledge phalam, jnana phalam is being talked about in the next 8 or 9 verses. So they're very interesting verses. And they are the verses which Bhagwan Krishna talks about in every chapter. In every chapter, in 12th chapter, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, from there he starts 12th chapter, second chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter. In every chapter, there are lakshanas of Sthita Prajna. Bhagwan Krishna describes his Sthita Prajna in every chapter, and here also Bhagwan Shankaracharya has decided to describe as Sthita Prajna. So let us take the 426th verse 426 in the original. Let us see what he wants to say about the phalam of this knowledge. Jivan Mukti is the phalam. Jivan Neva Muktihi. You are free here and now. Living in the same universe, same world, you are free here and now. So, what does he say here? ब्रह्मात्मनो शोधितयोः एकभावावगाहिनी निर्विकल्पा च चिन्मात्रा वृत्तिप्रज्ञेति कथ्यते सुस्थिता सा भवेद्यस्य जीवन्मुक्तः स उच्यते. So let us take the last line. Jivan Muktah Sa Uchyate. This person is called Jivan Mukta. Who is he? Susthita Sa Prajna Yasya Bhavet. For whom this knowledge is very, very clear and is abiding in this knowledge. For whom this knowledge? What knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Satyam, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. The whole universe, along with this body, mind, sense complex, is nothing but Mithya. I, the consciousness, Atma, is the only Satyam, and I am not different from Brahman, which is the consciousness behind this entire universe. This is the knowledge that the Jivan Mukta has got, and this knowledge is one which is absolutely, this person is abiding in. He is absolutely abiding in this knowledge. So, prajna susthita sa bhavedyasya. For whom this knowledge has become abiding, very, very clear, very, very definite, for whom there is a nishtha in this knowledge. That's why he's called a Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta means he has the abidance and the nishtha in this knowledge. Such a person is called as a Jivan Muktaha. He is called as a Jivan Muktaha Sa Uchyate. And how did he get this knowledge? See the first line. Brahmatmano Shodhitayoho Eka Bhava Avagahini. After having seen the oneness between the Brahman and Atma, between Jiva and Brahman, how Shodhita Yoho, after he has inquired and understood the oneness, he has derived the oneness between Brahman and Atma. Atma, the self, Atma Brahma Abheda, the one who has understood this, Eka Bhava Avagahini, who has seen the oneness, Eka Bhava between Atma and Brahman. There is only one consciousness, that is Atma, and that is nothing but Brahman. From the point of view of this body mind sense complex, I call it as Sakshi Chaitanya, I call it as Atma, I call it as Aham, but it is nothing but the same consciousness behind the entire universe, Brahman. So, Brahma Atma Noho Shodhita Yoho. After having done the Shodhana or inquiry and seen what? Ekabhava Avagahini. The one who has understood, Avagahini means understood the oneness between Atma and Brahman. After going through the inquiry, Guru Shastra Rupena. Guru and Shastra, by taking the help of Guru and Shastra. not independent inquiry. Brahma, I mean, this Mahavakya Vichara can never be done as an independent inquiry. Atma Brahma Aikya Vichara has to be done only with the help of Guru Shastra. Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyayana Rupena Shodhitayoho Brahmatmanoho Eka Bhava Avagahini. Ekabhava, the oneness, Ekabhavam, one bhava, the oneness between Atma and Brahman, the one who has seen. Nirvikalpa cha chinmatra vrittihi pragneti kathyate. This understanding is called as the correct knowledge. Vrittihi means understanding. Chinmatra vrittihi means that vritti which is not different from this consciousness. That vritti which has arisen in this intellect. What is that vritti? What is that thought? Vritti means knowledge. What is this vritti or knowledge that has arisen? That knowledge is called as prajna. In the language of Shastra, prajna means what? Prajna means the correct understanding. The correct understanding which has happened, which is nirvikalpa, chinmatra. This is this knowledge about the nirvikalpa, chinmatra, swarupa, atma, aham. This knowledge, which is got out of enquiry on the Mahavakya Vichara and seeing the oneness between me, the Atma, and Brahman, this is what is called as Prajna. Prajna iti kathyate. This is what is called as Prajna. And that Prajna makes this person a sthira Prajna, that abidance, the nishtha in this knowledge, the abidance and the nishtha in this particular vritti, in this prajna, in this knowledge, it is called as, this particular person is called as sthira prajnaha. Susthita sa bhavedyasya jivan muktah saha uchyate. So this verse is dealing with the definition of a jivan mukta. Who is a jivan mukta? A Jivan Mukta is the one who is free here and now. How is he free from here in here and now? He is free from the afflictions of the world. He is free from all the changes that are happening in the world and in the body, mind, sense complexes. Why? Because Brahmatmanoho Shodhitayoho Eka Bhava Avagahini. He has seen very clearly the oneness between the Atma and Brahman by a very deep inquiry into this subject. And the inquiry is done not independently but with the help of Guru and Shastra. And susthita sa prajna bhavedyasya. This prajna, when it becomes very well abided in this person, Jivan Muktaha sa Uchyate. Such a person is called as Jivan Muktaha. Then we will see in the next verse, in the 427th verse, what is this Jivan Mukta's Lakshanas. स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाष्या भाषा स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव said Arjuna. What is the bhasha? Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. What is the definition? What are the lakshanas? What are the features of a sthitaprajna? That was asked by Arjuna in the second chapter itself. And the same answers here also we find in Vivekachudamani. Here in the 427th verse, he says, Yasya sthita bhavet prajna yasyanando nirantaraha prapancho vismritah prayah sajivan mukta ishyate. Who's this Jivan Mukta and what are his Lakshanas? The Lakshanas of a Jivan Mukta, he says, Yasya Sthita Bhavet Prajna, the one who is abiding in this knowledge. Which knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Iti, in this clear knowledge, the one who is abiding, this person, Yasya Sthita Bhavet Prajna. This prajna becomes absolutely firm in whom. Sthita bhavet means firm. It becomes very firm in which person? Yasya anando nirantaraha. Such a person for whom Ananda is Nirantaraha, he is all the time Sukha Swarupa, Purnatva Swarupa Atma. He does not lack anything. That is why Krishna says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha. He is happy within himself. He is reveling within himself. This Sthita Prajna does not require the world to give him happiness. This Sthita Prajna does not require the objects of the world to give him happiness. He will enjoy the world, no doubt, but he doesn't depend on the world. If there is a good thing that is coming his way, a good object is coming his way, he will also enjoy it, but he is not dependent upon the objects of the world to give him happiness. Yasya anando nirantaraha. Constantly he is in a state of purnatvam. He is constantly happy. What about us? We are happy for a short time. Most of the time we are dukkhis. We are unhappy most of the time. Very rarely there are moments of happiness. Most of the time we find ourselves in moments or in long periods of unhappiness. Whereas here for this person, yasya anandaha nirantaraha. He is constantly in a state of fulfillment. There is no question of apurnatvam in him. He is constantly fulfilled, nirantaraha. Prapancho vismrita prayaha. Prapancha vismrita prayaha, as though the prapancha is not there, as though he has forgotten the whole world. He cannot forget. Even a Jivan Mukta is living. He is also alive. He also sees the same universe. He also transacts with the same world. But what is the meaning of prapanchaha vismrita prayaha? Means it is as good as not there for him. It is as good as he has forgotten the whole universe. Why? Because the universe or this world does not trouble him anymore, more or less forgotten. Forgotten means what? It is there. It is there by itself. It is doing its work. There are so many things in our life which are there. We are aware of them, but we are not bothered about them, as if we have forgotten them. They are there in our lives, but as though we have forgotten. They don't disturb us anymore. For a jnani, this whole world is like that. This whole world is vismrita prayaha, as though this whole world is not there at all. What does it mean? The world no longer disturbs him. That's it. For us, what is the problem? Every little change in the world disturbs us. A small problem on the road disturbs us. Political situation disturbs us. Anything that happens anywhere, the whole world disturbs us. But for this Sthita Prajna, since though he is seeing the same world, since he has understood very clearly that this world is mithya, it is a mere experiential reality, the world will go along the way it has to go along. I don't need to do anything about the world. I cannot change the world. It is Ishvara Sankalpa. It is Ishvara's creation. According to the laws of Ishvara, this whole world is going on. I cannot do anything about it. I cannot change it. I cannot save it. I cannot do anything. Let the Jagat be run by the laws of Ishvara. The higher intelligence, Ishvara, knows how to run this universe. Let me not get disturbed by this universe. I neither feel happy with the universe nor unhappy with the universe. The universe can neither give me happiness nor can it give me unhappiness. So he says, Yasya anandaha nirantaraha prapancho visvrita prayaha sa jivan mukta uchyate. This jivan mukta is for whom the world stops being a source of disturbance. The world is no longer a source of nuisance to him. The world is no longer a source of disturbance to him. Then He says in the next verse, in the 430th verse, another Lakshanam of Sthita Prajna. Like in Bhagavad Gita, 5-6 verses talked about the, na dveshti, na kankshati, all these things, this kind of all these, not only second, in almost all the chapters, Sthita Prajna Lakshanas were talked about. Similarly, here also in the next 7 or 8 verses, the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas are talked about here. So in the 430th verse, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says here, Vartamanepi dehesmin छायावदनुवर्तिनी अहन्ता ममता भावः जीवन्मुक्तस्य लक्षणम्. So he says here, Vartamanepi dehe asmin. This body does not disappear. Once a person becomes a Jivan Mukta, the body does not disappear. He has to still live with the same body. If the body is having diseases, he has to still live with the same diseases. The same problems of the body also will be there. There is no way in which this person can avoid what is happening to the body. According to the prarabdha of that particular body mind sense complex, the body will go through all whatever it has to go through. So dehe asmin vartamane api. Even though he continues to remain in the same body, for a Jivan Mukta, the body does not change. Suddenly, the body does not become beautiful. Suddenly, the body does not become healthy and young. The same body remains for the Jivan Mukta, Vartamane api. Being present in the same body also. The body is like what? Chhayavat Danuvartini. The body is like a shadow to him. Just like a shadow accompanies me everywhere, correct? A shadow accompanies a person everywhere. Does the person bother about the shadow? Oh, this shadow is coming just behind me, or sometimes the shadow is in front of me, sometimes the shadow is on my side. Why this shadow is accompanying me? Why it is seen here? Why it is? Do I worry about my shadow? The shadow follows me. The shadow follows my body, but I am not worried about the shadow. Similarly, what he says is, for a Jivan Mukta also, the body is like a shadow. He treats the body like a shadow. He does what is necessary for the body, but the body is like the shadow. Just like a shadow follows wherever I go. Similarly, the body follows this Sthita Prajna wherever he is, whatever he is, but then he is not bothered much about this body. Whatever care that has to be taken about the body, he takes it because it is Ishvara's gift. This body is Ishvara's gift and the body has to be taken care of. Whatever is necessary to be done, whatever care has to be taken of the body, that care, that importance he will give to the body. But beyond that, he does not give any importance. Then, ahanta mamata abhavaha. He has no ahankara mamakara. What is ahankara? And the body mind sense complex is the ahankara. These people belong to me is mamakara. This setup belongs to me is mamakara. This world belongs to me is mamakara. This much money belongs to me, mamakara. This is my profession, mamakara. So, entanglement with the body mind sense complex is called ahankara, and the extended ahankara in the form of thinking that a portion of the world belongs to me from the point of situations, surroundings, people, and object. That is called as mamakara. So, what is he having? Ahankara, mamakara, abhavaha. There is abhava of ahankara, mamakara. Neither the body mind belongs to me, nor the sense complex belong to me. The Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya koshas do not belong to me. Similarly, my house is not my house, it is the gift of Ishvara. My family is not my family, it is just that I have come to work out some prarabdha with this set of people. So, these I call as my family. Again, Ishvara given, Ishvara Sankalpa, they are not mine. This world in which I am living, it is Ishvara's Jagat, going on the Sankalpa of Ishvara. This world is not mine. Therefore, ahankara mamakara abhavaha. is Jivan Muktasya Lakshanam. A Jivan Mukta never has any ahankara or mamakara. This is the Jivan Muktasya Lakshanam. So this is what he calls as the Lakshanam of Jivan Mukta. Another one. Next we'll take up the 431st verse because we have another 5 minutes. We'll take up the 431st verse. We'll just begin that, and if you're not able to complete it, we'll take it in the next session. So, अतीतानुसन्धानं भविष्यद् अविचारणम् औदासीन्यमपि प्राप्ते जीवन्मुक्तस्य लक्षणम्. Atita Anusandhanam never thinks about the past. Oh, why did I do it? Why did I not do it? I should have done this. I should not have done this. If I had done this, it would have been so much better. If I had not done this, I would not have gone through all these things. I don't know why I did it. Regret and guilt of the past is not there. Athita ananusandhanam. Atita ananusandhanam. Anusandhanam means thinking constantly. Constantly thinking of something is called as anusandhanam. Worrying over something, constantly thinking over something is called as anusandhanam. Ananusandhanam. I am not bothered. The Jivan Mukta is not bothered about what? Atita ananusandhanam. Atita, it's gone. The past is gone. It's not going to come back. If I have done something in the past, I cannot correct it. If I have not done something in the past, there is no way I can do it now. It is over. In this vast canvas of time, that past is a moment which is already gone. There is nothing that can be done about it. No guilt, no regrets about the past. Atita anusandhanam, bhavishyad avicharanam, not thinking of the future. Planning for the immediate future is necessary. Even if a Jivan Mukta has to travel after 2 months, he has to book the tickets now. There is no doubt about it. But undue planning of future, what will happen after 20 years? What will be the inflation rate after 20 years? Will I be able to manage with whatever savings I have now? How can I see that? Yes, to some extent, some planning is necessary. Everyday life cannot be lived without some kind of a planning. That Bhagwan does not say you should not do. But undue worry, undue tension about the future as to how it is going to be, what it is going to be, bhavishyad avicharanam, he never thinks of the future. Whatever is necessary in the present, whatever is necessary in the immediate future, as a role that he's playing as a family man or whatever it is, whatever is important to be done, he does that. But he does not unnecessarily think of the future. Bhavishyat avicharanam audasinyam api prapte. Whatever he gets, he's not too much bothered about it. If something is got, it is his prarabdha. It is the prarabdha of that particular body mind sense complex because of which something is got. Prapte audasinyam. Whatever comes, he accepts it. Neither too happy nor too sorrowful, not jumping with joy, nor, dukheshu anudvignamana, sukheshu vigata sprihah, vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadir muniruchyate. Where did we see that? In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? There is no udvega, there is no anudvignamana dukheshu. Dukha comes, Anishta upapatti comes, there is no udvignata. Ishtaprapteshu, Sukheshu, Vigata Sprihaha. No longing, no spriha. Spriha means longing. All the time longing for something. All the time longing for sukha. That is not there. So, Audasinyam. He is neutral with regard to whatever he gets. This is called as Jivan Muktasya Lakshanam. No unnecessary thinking of the past, no unnecessary planning of the future. Whatever comes, Ishta, Anishta, is accepted with Audasinyam, without getting much affected by it. This is the Lakshana of Sthita Prajna. We have another 5 or 6 verses of Sthita Prajna Lakshana, which we will see in the next session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुस्तदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्